I'm here to speak to you today about Senate Bill 218. And first, before I say anything, I want to thank the Children's Committee from last year. You really started this by creating the working group, and that was led by the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity, as well as the Social Emotional Collaborative, and then a nonprofit organization in the region. And the title is An Act Establishing a Task Force to Study the Creation and Administration of a Statewide Program for the Delivery of Bereavement and Grief Counseling Services to the children and families. And I think if you had the opportunity, and I apologize a little for the mix-up, originally I think the report went to the Education Committee, but I hope you've all received that report now. I know I heard Representative Comey asking questions about it, but when you began the working group, I had thought originally it was going to be a lot narrower in scope, and they really did, in my opinion, a fabulous job researching already throughout the state the real need for more bereavement and grief counseling services. They identified gaps in the state, particularly in the Northeast and the Northwest, where we don't have any centers at all, any bereavement centers at all. And then they went even further and looked at some of the marginalized and disenfranchised communities that could use the services. So I was very pleased to see the scope of the working group, what they did. Their number one recommendation is to continue the work. It's not finished yet, and to create a task force. So that's why I'm here today, to ask you to please support that, create the task force, and let's continue the work. I think there's a lot more that we can do to analyze what we can do. And I know so many of you on the Children's Committee also serve on the Education Committee. We had a 10-hour hearing yesterday about all of the disengaged youth and disconnected youth to our schools, the chronic absenteeism, and I'm wondering how much of that can possibly be related to bereavement and grief. I know Representative Lenahan, you and I have discussed that, and originally, because my own family had the experience with my granddaughter who lost her father due to a tragedy, and it created such anxiety, depression, trauma, and she's a wonderful granddaughter. I love her dearly, and she's doing well now, but it takes a lot, and we could not find the services necessary right away. It took a lot of investigation, so that's what prompted me to come to you to say, can we do more? Let's look at it. I think that if we allow this task force to go forward, we'll even gain more information and we'll be better equipped to help and move it not only to the children but to the families. Because I think Representative Dauphiné, you asked the question, and by the way, it's so difficult to go after the child advocate, Sarah Egan. She is just tremendous, and I appreciate so much all of her work and her willingness to help on this issue as well. But you asked the question if there's any correlation with the opiate epidemic and what's happening, and I can answer that yes. And if you look at some of the statistics that the work did, that the commission did, they point out that there's so much more. If somebody has experienced grief and bereavement and they haven't received any services at all, there's studies showing that there's a much greater risk for suicidal ideation, much greater risk for self-harm. So this is a rippling effect that goes on in the family. So I think it's worthy of more, and I'm particularly interested to look at the correlation that death and bereavement may have on our students in our schools. So that's the one recommendation. I'm coming here today to ask you if you would please include in that the Department of Education or a designee. I didn't see anyone there, and then I know a student wrote in about it. that perhaps somebody with lived experience, whether it's an older student that is able, or a young adult, or even a family member that has experienced the death or the loss of someone, I would appreciate if you'd take a look at that. But I'm here today to really thank the Children's Committee for taking this seriously and for creating first the working group and asking you today if you would please create the task force now so we can continue the good work and work together. Thank you.